Hey guys, and today we're going to look at a quick sort of preview of Elder Scrolls Online. It's a game I'm really looking forward to, and I've been doing my research, and let's just talk about a few things I've found out, some things you might not know, things you might know, and we'll just have a quick chat about it, and I'll let you know my thoughts on things and what I'm looking forward to specifically. So let's get straight into it. So the game is set about just over 1,000 years before Skyrim, and the beta testing is now available. So I'm going to pop a link in the description to the site you'll need to fill out the form and everything like that if you didn't know it was available. So get signed up, and because they're going to need decent feedback to make this game as good as we want it to be. So I urge people to sign up and go and do that. I've signed up already. So something I quite enjoy about reading the stuff we know already about the storyline is they've sort of, the Oblivion things are back, and Oblivion was probably my favourite game. I think Skyrim was probably better for gameplay just because it was more modern, but Oblivion's sort of story and everything like that I really enjoyed. So you've got the Daedra Prince of Domination and Enslavement, Molag Bal, and he's basically trying to like merge Tamriel with his Daedric plane and basically stir up some shit, and you're trying to stop him. So basically what's happened is all the different races of Tamriel that you know have joined together and formed like 3 alliances, and now they're all at war with each other. So we've got the Daggerfall Convent, the Ebonheart Pact, and the Aldmeri Dominion. So we've got all them, and you've got all your races inside there, and they're called alliances, but they're the same sort of thing as factions in other games. And there is a big PvP sort of storyline behind this whole thing. So basically you as a player can be named Emperor of an alliance, and I think that's a really cool thing to put in a game. It's obviously going to be like some serious players that are going to get this status, but whatever, it's a nice competitive edge to leave on PvP. So there's going to be massive PvP between these 3 alliances, and basically the highest ranked player is crowned the Emperor of that alliance, and it just adds a nice competition to PvP that is lacking in some other games. It just becomes a bit of a grind in a lot of other games. So if there's an end goal like that, I think it would give a lot more people an urge to play PvP. And the Emperor will gain special abilities that increase their prowess on the battlefield, according to the website. So it doesn't really give me much there. I don't really know what it's going to be. So it's obviously going to be some kind of buff, some kind of Emperor buff. Who knows what it's going to be, but it'll probably be pretty good if only one person can get it on each server or whatever it is. So yeah, whoever controls the Ruby Throne can be crowned Emperor and rules all of Tamriel. So, you could only be there for like 5 minutes, and then somebody else beats you. Someone else becomes top rank over you. But it's a bit of fun. There's obviously going to be some serious battles going on between the top PvP players at all times. So that's pretty good. In terms of PvE, there is going to be 5-man dungeons with heroic versions, I've heard. So that should be good. And then there's going to be sort of public dungeons. I think that's kind of what they're calling their raids, but you'll just find them as you're exploring, and then you get a group of people together, and then there's bosses in there, and you've got to take them all down. And I think that's a nice touch. It's less sort of let's just click a button and wait and then get put into a game and then come back out, and it all becomes very sort of, I can't really think what the word is, but it's all a bit sort of mechanical and not very social. So it's going to make the game a bit more social and trying to get people to come with you, a bit like world bosses in any other game, but you'll get these world raids, and I think that's a really cool idea. And yeah, so the PvP is going to be similar to if you played Star Wars: The Old Republic when it came out. Sorry, it's just like my cigarette. If you played Star Wars: The Old Republic when it came out, there was the PvP would level you up so everyone was equal. So I could be in there with like a level 40 odd, and I could be level 10, and I wouldn't have as many moves as him, so he would have an advantage, but my moves would do the same damage as his moves. My gear would be sort of statted out, so we were all equal no matter what he had on. And then once you got to like 50, there was like a separate level 50 area where it did matter about your gear and how well you were playing. So they're going to do that apparently, and a lot of people I think don't like this because they don't like the concept of people who haven't really put the effort in can kill them, and they haven't put the effort in to get the gear and the points and everything like that. But at end game, I don't really think that'll be the case. I don't suppose it'll be level 10s can just jump into a game with level capped players. but I quite like it as a player who doesn't play that much PvP. It allows me to jump in and out of PvP and not feel like I'm at a disadvantage. So I personally quite like it, but I can understand why people wouldn't. So anyway, let's move on. So yeah, there's points. There's a point system while you're doing your PvP, and these can be spent on, it says siege weaponry and more. So obviously there's going to be sort of massive catapults and things like that that are going to help you break into certain places and take over certain objectives and whatnot. But if you're not a big PvPer, you can actually spend your PvE earned gold. So say from questing and selling things and whatnot in the PvE side of the game, you can jump into PvP and use that gold if you're willing to pay the gold. So you don't have to have all these PvP points, but at the expense of spending your real in-game gold. So that's a nice touch. I don't suppose a lot of people will bother spending it, because if they're going to be playing PvP, they might as well be spending the PvP money, but I can see why they've done it. It's just so people, if they fancy jumping into a game and they fancy getting a siege weapon out, they can do that with their money if they want. So that's quite a nice touch. So the game will still use your typical, any Elder Scrolls player will feel at home, because it still uses health, magicka and stamina. So you still get your basic sources, your resources are exactly the same. So that's pretty much everything on your PvE and your dungeons and whatnot. And I've just been doing a little bit of research about the guilds, because guilds in the Elder Scrolls game is something that I always spend a lot of time doing, like getting to the top of the Mages Guild and doing all my Thieves Guild quests and things like that. So what I've managed to find out is there will be guilds. There'll be the Dark Brotherhood, the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild and the Thieves Guild. So they're all guilds you'll recognise if you're a Elder Scrolls player. But I couldn't find any information on the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood of how to get in, but I can tell you, for the Fighters Guild, you're going to have to destroy dark anchors, which are essentially like giant hooks that are guarded, and they're sent by Molag Bal, the Daedra Prince that I mentioned before. He's the sort of main bad guy in this game by the looks of things, and he's trying to merge Tamriel with Cold Harbour, which is his Daedric plane. So that sounds like a nice little side storyline for the game, and something that I'd like to get involved with. So basically I think you've got to destroy the guard of the hook, and then that sort of earns you a bit of reputation with the Fighters Guild and gets you involved with them. And then there's obviously, if I know Elder Scrolls, there'll probably be some quest lines. I can't confirm that, but I guess there'll be quest lines and certain benefits for getting to the tops of these guilds. And the Mages Guild, you have to find lore books, which are basically just hidden anywhere in Tamriel. It said some are in specific locations and some are randomly hidden. So I guess there's ways of getting clues to these specific place ones. Finding out that there is one in this certain case, in this certain room in the city. It said they'll be in cities and caves and things like that. So any sort of treasure hunting player will love that. So yeah. Right, so I'm just going to talk a little bit now about some of the minor details of the game. So the game will be in third person view, like your typical MMO. It won't be following the old school first person Elder Scrolls game, and I'm pretty sure you won't be able to play in first person. It's a totally third person game, and the graphic is a little bit, you'll be able to see some of the screenshots I'm posting, and the graphics are sort of halfway between an MMO and an Elder Scrolls game, and it's something that I'm sure they're having a bit of difficulty with. But I'm glad that they've got this nice middle ground, because the Elder Scrolls graphic is something that a lot of people are scared of losing with this game. They're thinking maybe it's going to go in a cartoony direction, and they don't want it to bow down to being an MMO and totally just lose sight of it being an Elder Scrolls game. But I really think that they're not stupid, these games designers. They've made some incredible games in the past, so I don't think they're going to sort of struggle with that. So from the looks of the screenshots, in my opinion, in the gameplay videos that you'll find on YouTube, there is definitely a nice look to this game. You still can tell instantly you're playing an Elder Scrolls game, but then at the same time it feels like an MMO. So you've got your hotbar at the bottom with your keys and everything for your attacks, which is similar to an MMO and unlike a normal Elder Scrolls game. And the third person view you will be used to, because I play Skyrim a lot in third person view, because I like seeing the gear that I'm wearing. I don't know, it might sound a bit lame, but I quite like looking at all the cool gear that I've managed to find in all the dungeons and everything, and I know a lot of people will. So I think that's a really nice touch. One thing I'm kind of disappointed with is the news that there won't be vampire and werewolf disease. So you won't be able to get into a fight with vampires and werewolves will be in the game, but if you get into a fight with them, you won't contract vampirism or the werewolf disease. And that's something that I always really enjoyed as a game mechanic. I know it was always kind of a pain in the ass becoming a vampire and doing this ridiculous quest to get your cure for vampirism and everything, but it just added a whole new side to the game. It would stop everything you were doing, and the game became about curing yourself from vampirism, and then you can continue on with your quest. And I think they should have somehow, I know, and I can understand why it's difficult to do in an MMO with it being multiplayer and you'd have all these different people, and it wouldn't quite be fair, because if you were getting hurt by sunlight and then someone from an opposing alliance came over and started PvP ganking you, then it wouldn't really be fair because you'd have vampirism. But then again, you got the whole, if you did have vampirism and if you did have the werewolf disease, you could use the special abilities that it came with. So yeah, you might get hurt by certain things more, but you know, they could give you benefits. But anyway, that won't be in the game, so sorry to tell you that. But fast travel will be in the game, but it won't be as sort of easy and quick to use as it is in Skyrim. With it being an MMO, they've sort of tightened up a little bit, so it'll be limited to way shrines. So I guess they'll just be like little statues in major towns and cities, and if you go and unlock them, just similar to any other MMO where you've got a certain person you have to speak to or a certain thing you've got to click on and register with, then that will be sort of logged into your little book of way shrines, and you can continue to jump between them and fast travel between them. I'm not sure if there's a cooldown on it, I have no idea, but all I know is that it is limited to these way shrines. And there will be relationships and marriage and things like that in this game, but only between players. So you can do sort of like a nonsense little, I'm going to give gifts to this character and then give her the wedding ring and everything, and blah de blah de blah. And yeah, you will be able to get married. So it's got a little nice little touch there, I suppose, for role players, because I don't do much role playing myself, but I feel like role playing's just kind of been totally cut out of games now. Like, they don't really do anything for the role players. Like Star Wars: The Old Republic was a really good one for it, because the storyline was so in depth and you had the choice to speak, and there was a really personal storyline to it, and that was really nice to see. But most MMOs just tend to, you know, they go for the click on this guy, it'll come up with a little thing like in World of Warcraft. No one reads it. They click yes. They know what their rewards are going to be. They pick their reward and they go, and they're just thinking about the stats that they're going to get, and they're not thinking about what the storyline is and how interesting it might be. But I think that definitely needs looking into, because I think missing out on storyline in games is just a crime. So anyway, that's just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know, and if you think anything I've said is wrong, please let me know and I'll change it straight away. But I'm pretty sure all the information I've got is legit. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll bring you any more updates as I get them. See you next time. Bye.